Hi, this is Dr. Gregory Sadler. I'm a professor of philosophy and the president and founder of an educational consulting company called Reason.io, where we put philosophy into practice. I've studied and taught philosophy for over 20 years, and I find that many people run into difficulties reading classic philosophical texts. Sometimes it's the way things are said or how the text is structured. But the concepts themselves are not always that complicated, and that's where I come in. To help students and lifelong learners, I've been producing longer lecture videos and posting them to YouTube. Many viewers say they find them useful. What you're currently watching is part of a new series of shorter videos, each of them focused on one core concept from an important philosophical text. I hope you find it useful as well. In Book 2 of his On the Nature of the Gods, Cicero is going to have Balbus, the Stoic, present what we could call the standard Stoic distinction between genuine religion and superstition. And this is, in fact, a common concern in the philosophical approaches in ancient times. We don't just see the Stoics concerned with this, but also, in particular, the Middle Platonists, among others. This need to distinguish what we could call poorly founded conceptions of the gods and what it is that the gods want and, expect of us, or what sort of example they provide, and a more, as it's going to be translated here as scientific, but an understanding grasp of these divine beings that is coming from philosophy. So he's going to talk about a true and valuable philosophy of nature, physicus, evolved from an imaginary and fanciful pantheon, literally commentikos et fictikos deos, right? A whole set of gods that are basically made up. What can we actually draw from this? Well, one way we can go is that of superstition. The, at that time, ordinary person, including many of the elites, who fall into false opinions and wild errors and superstitions. And they actually use the word superstitiones there. So what are these sorts of false beliefs that we're talking about here? Well, one main aspect has to do with actual beliefs, actual things that people think are the case. So what is it that people think that they know about the gods? One of them is their appearance, their forma, right? They think that they look like human beings just because there's statues of them or other depictions in that way, or poetic representations. How old they are, how long they've been around, right? Their dress, what it is that they typically wear, which makes sense if you think that they actually have human-like bodies. The equipment that they have. So, Zeus has a thunderbolt. Neptune, Zeus would be Jupiter. Neptune or Poseidon has a trident. We could go on and on that way. So, that again makes sense if you're anthropomorphizing the gods. Genealogies, who begat who arose from who. So, for example, we know that Athena sprang out of the head of Zeus, well, because he swallowed her mother after he got her pregnant, who they're married to, right? And the other relationships that they have with each other. These are things that people think that they actually know about because, they could read a book of mythology, not called mythology at that time. And they also think, and here's where it gets more problematic, they also think the gods have the human weaknesses or frailty like we do, imbecilitas, right? The word that we get imbecile from. So this isn't just like a little quirk or foible. This is like we treat the gods as if they're screw-ups like this. And this is what Cicero and Balbus think is wrong. So what sort of shape does that take? Well, they're represented as subject to emotions or passions, perturbatus animus, right? And what are examples of these? Well, being in love, cupiditates, a desire, right? Being sorrowful or upset, agritudines, getting all angry with each other, iracundias. So, we could go down the line. They get envious of each other. They show jealousy as well. They show fear. All of these sorts of matters. And the Stoics want to say the gods don't feel that sort of thing. That's human emotions. And they go to war with each other. According to the myths, they engage in wars and battles. And that not only when, as in Homer, two armies are contending and the gods take sides and intervene on their behalf, but they actually fought wars of their own, for instance, with the Titans and the giants. And what does Balbus say? These stories and these beliefs are utterly foolish, right? So they're not just a little foolish, they're utterly foolish, they're stupid, right? Stultissime, the most foolish you can get, and they're stuffed with, as he's going to continue, nonsense and absurdity of all sorts. So we can contrast against that the viewpoint on the gods that the Stoics are advocating, a proper understanding, which is derived from what applies to, what pertains to, you could translate a bit more literally, a god by their nature, per naturam, right? And what is this going to lead us to? He says that, well, we can think of Ceres pervading the earth, Ceres is Demeter, Neptune the sea, and it's our duty to revere and to worship these gods under the names that are given to them. So they're not suggesting get rid of the temples, don't talk about these gods, just understand them in the right way as pertaining to essentially cosmic and natural phenomenon that we're interested in and can have some understanding of, and don't associate them with bodies or emotions. He's going to go on, and he says that the best and also the purest, the holiest, and most pious way of worshiping the gods, what is it going to be? To venerate them, to give them respect, right? To think good of them, veneremur in this case, with both our mind and our voice, mente et voca. And in what way? Well, piously, right? Here we go. Purity, sincerity, and innocence. Pura, integra, incorrupta, right? So, that's a good thing to do. In sincerity, is that a good translation of integra? Yeah, there's nothing hidden in what you're doing. So that's the way a Stoic would be worshiping. And then he's going to go on and he's going to say, it's not just philosophers, our very ancestors, those who came before us, those who are greater than us, the mayores, actually distinguished between superstition and religion. So it's not just a philosophical distinction, it's also something that is in the broader Roman and presumably Mediterranean culture. So he's going to talk about superstition receiving censure, or literally vitii nomen, right, being treated as a vice, and religion getting praise or approbation, laudis, right? So one is viewed as good, one is viewed as bad. And superstition, what's an example of that? Spending entire days in prayer for your children that they will outlive you. Now here's where we get a little bit of etymology that might be a bit off base. They love to do etymological stuff. Cicero is also into that quite a bit. So it comes from the word superstes, according to Balbus, which means survivor. So you're praying for your children to survive you. Now, does that cover every sort of thing that we're calling superstition? Obviously not, right? So that derivation may be pretty fanciful itself. And we also get an attempt to try to explain religion on the basis of etymology as well. So religion, carefully reviewing and retracing the lore of ritual. So we get the word relegere, to retrace or reread, which is like elegant from illigere, diligent from diligere, intelligent from intelligere. All of these words contain the same sense of picking out, legere, that is present in religious. And so this is interesting because there's also attempts to explain religion etymologically in Latin by saying it has to do with ligere, like binding, right? In this case, it's more of an action that the religious person is carrying out of reviewing and retracing the ritualistic aspects. And so Balbus thinks that we can make a strong distinction between two very different, we could call them religious attitudes towards the gods. One of which is mired not just in superstition, but false belief and making mistakes about the gods, about us, our relation to them. The other is based in philosophy and says that we really need to rethink the ways in which we understand, and not just understand, but also approach the divine beings. That would be a genuinely religious point of view. So, very interesting distinction that is made here in a very strong way between two different approaches to the gods.